Rai Origins, the badass cyborg, is one of Valiant Comics' finest superheroes. Hello guys, today we will be discussing someone from a different comic book universe. That's right, today we will talk about the Valiant Comics superhero Rai. This character made his first appearance in 1991 through creator Jim Shooter Paul Krennic. Rai can be defined in very simple terms as a samurai who is also a cyborg. Low-key makes you think of cyberpunk, but not that crazy. It's also set in a dystopian society where people are relatively a lot more ready to fight and survive. There have been a lot of different iterations of him since he does get replaced a lot. That's a bit of how it works in cybernetic feudal Japan, I guess. Okay, enough jokes for now. Let's get straight to it. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Exploring the origins and backstory of Rai. Rai's origin is set in the 41st century, a time when Japan has become a sprawling, technologically advanced metropolis known as New Japan. The city is ruled by an artificial intelligence called Father, who maintains order and enforces the law through a legion of robotic enforcers known as the Rai. The first Rai, known as Reijin, was created by Father to be the ultimate defender of New Japan. Reijin was a human being who was genetically engineered and cybernetically enhanced to become the perfect protector of the city. He was equipped with a powerful suit of armor, including a helmet that incorporated the latest in cybernetic technology, and he possessed extraordinary strength, speed, and agility. However, Reijin was eventually killed in battle, and Father was forced to create a new Rai to take his place. This new Rai, unlike the last one, was simply called and was not genetically engineered like his predecessor. Instead, he was created from the collective consciousness of the people of New Japan, who believed in him as their defender. Rai's armor was also different from Reijin's, as it was designed to be more flexible and versatile, allowing Rai to adapt to a wider range of situations. Additionally, Rai was not completely subservient to Father's programming, and he was also able to think and act independently. Throughout his adventures, Rai has battled various enemies, including other rogue Rai units, assassins, and monsters. He has also formed alliances with other heroes, such as the Eternal Warrior and the Geomancer, and has fought to protect the people of New Japan and preserve their way of life. In later iterations of the Valiant Comics universe, Rai has been depicted as a legacy character, with new individuals taking on the mantle of Rai over the centuries. However, the core elements of this original story, including his connection to New Japan and his mission to protect its citizens, have remained consistent. A memorable comic book story arc featuring Rai from Valiant Comics. In one instance, New Japan and the whole Earth actually were under attack by an alien robot race called the Malevolence. These alien robots could latch on to a human and take control of their mind and body. Apparently, their plan is to use humans to create some sort of energy. In these issues, we see that the Malevolence attack Rai and his council, forcing him to take action and rile up the people of New Japan. He gave a very moving speech that brought the people together. This was important because he wanted to protect as many people as possible. There were already a few cases where people believed that if a Malev got to you, you would have to be killed. So, to prevent meaningless deaths, Rai decided to take the fight to them. However, upon reaching the Malev leader's abode, he finds that they were ready for this sneak attack. The big Medusa-looking robot alien just issues a command that removes the floor from underneath their feet, and they all fall. However, we humans never give up without a fight, so somehow Rai and his friends manage to break their fall and continue their mission. While at the same time, there is a full-scale war going on between robots and humankind outside. They fight their way outside and try to pin down the Malev leader's location once again. Next, we get some insight into the past of Rai and his friends and how they have fought together before the Arabian Sea. They were on a freight ship when they were attacked by cyborg slavers. They fought them off, but not without sustaining damage to their ship and going into a giant storm. The ship began moving closer and closer to the coast of Africa for some reason. It was quite late when they found out that Psylocke, one of the crews with Rai, was working to deliver Rai to Shaka Alaran. They are received like royalty when they arrive, but little do they know about the plans in store for Rai. It appears that this king wanted the blood of heroes that were in Rai's veins, not that he wanted the blood itself, but he wanted control over whomever it ran in. However, since it was unlikely that Rai would work for him, he had to resort to other means. means. Rai and his friends were tricked and roofied, then began the process of extracting Rai's blood. However, at that moment, Psylocke interfered and saved Rai, even though Psylocke had initially betrayed him. Psylocke never meant to harm Rai. After everyone is freed, Rai almost begins attacking Psylocke in a rage due to his betrayal. But once Psylocke explains himself and his intentions, they relax and continue on their mission. The comics go on in a very episodic manner after this, so while it's all a part of one big story, you can easily read a random issue as a one-off thing and it will still be a good read. Another little story arc I wanted to mention was of Rai and the Future Force. Rai and the Future Force comic issues are quite long, so we are just going to focus on a few of them. Mainly, the Amarines story arc opens with Rai and his allies, the Future Force, being ambushed by the Amarines, a powerful paramilitary organization that has been hired to take down the Future Force. The Amarines are heavily armed and equipped with advanced weaponry, making them a formidable opponent for Rai and his team. As the battle between the two groups rages on, Rai and his allies soon realize that the Amarines are being led by Bloodshot, a former member of the Future Force who has now turned against them. Bloodshot has been brainwashed by the Amarines, and he is now their key asset in the fight against Rai and his allies. Despite the odds against them, Rai and the Future Force are determined to stop the Amarines and uncover their true motives. As they investigate further, they discover that the Amarines are planning to overthrow Father, the artificial intelligence that rules over New Japan, and take control of the city for themselves. In order to stop the Amarines, Rai and his allies set out to free Bloodshot from their control. They are successful in breaking the Amarines' hold over them, but not before he inflicts a serious injury on Rai. With Bloodshot back on their side, Rai and the Future Force launch a final assault against the Amarines. The battle is fierce, with the Amarines unleashing a wide array of powerful weapons, including a massive robotic suit called the Warmonger. Rai and his allies manage to destroy the Warmonger and defeat the Amarines, but not without great cost. Rai is gravely injured in the battle and is visited by the spirit of Regine, his predecessor, who encourages him to keep fighting and to continue protecting New Japan. The Enter the Amarines storyline is a thrilling and action-packed adventure that highlights Rai's skills as a warrior and leader. It also delves into themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the dangers of power as Rai and his allies fight to defend their home and stop those who would seek to control it. The storyline showcases the complex political landscape of New Japan and the threats that its heroes must face in order to keep it safe. The recent comeback of Rai was a phenomenal one. I'll try not to spoil it much on this because the comics are actually pretty awesome and worth reading 100%. So, this story follows Rai and his elder younger brother Regine going around trying to find different backups of the father. If you recall, we mentioned the father before as the AI that ruled Japan. However, after his apparent death and the fact that he may be brought back to life if his different backups are united, Regine and Rai decide to make his death a more permanent affair. In these comics, we get to see some really cool art styles and a certain understanding of each of their abilities. Not only that, but the artists and writers have done a great job trying to show their sheer scale of Rai's true power. Oh, and another thing here is that Rai will seem to have a slightly different personality from the 90s comic issues. Here, he is a lot more nonchalant and tries to avoid violence whenever he can. However, when required, he does what he must. At the end of the day, his goal is to end the father for good so that he will never have to fight again. Rai wants to live a peaceful life as a human. To an extent, this kind of reminds me of Old Man Logan. Later on, they come across an AI that makes them feel right at home, except it wants them to stay there and live a happy family life. Understandably, the two Rais try to take their leave but are met with heavy resistance. It's both quite funny and a little horrifying when a super sweet woman who was just making you coffee begins to attack you in a psychotic frenzy. However, that isn't to say that this segment wasn't cool. The way they talked about the backup of the father being sentient was quite interesting. It had the will to self-preserve. Since it was damaged, it was hiding in this AI's programming. As it hid, it broke down the coding of the AI in order to heal itself, and this, in turn, messed up the AI. All of this, in hindsight, may not make much technical sense, but it's completely believable that technology works a bit differently 2,000 years from now. Not just that, the fact that they are incorporating some very real ideas into their new work is just such a win, to be honest. It really adds a lot of depth depth to the world that they're creating in the comic, while making certain ties with the real world that helps to blur the lines and get more immersed. Oh, and yes, there's so much existential dread-inciting dialogue that it'll really melt your mind, but in a good way. In the next few issues, we see a whole host of different giant monsters, from dinosaurs to flying, data-collecting insectoids. What makes Rai so powerful? Rai has a host of abilities. Mainly, all his supernatural abilities come from his blood. The blood of the masses flows in his veins, and he can even remember the memories of some of those people. The blood of heroes is what gives him immortality and his enhanced physical abilities. His blood is also filled with nanites, which are essentially tiny computers in his bloodstream. This is how he is able to interface with any robot or technology and control them. Yeah, this is a very cyberpunk ability, we know, but it's very fitting given their world and how it works. Not just that, his sword is just amazing. In recent years, we have seen a big influx of feudal Japan-era video games that have a lot of samurai influence. In case you liked any of those, then you could totally give this comic a shot. Initially, the blood was extracted from Bloodshot and sealed in a container to be passed on to the next Rai. Once Rai has it, they can move at speeds that are so fast, the average human would not even be able to see them. Just in the second issue of Rai 2019, we see him wipe out a whole group of cars and bikes and domesticated dinosaurs so fast, it seemed like they were just blown away by him walking by them. More than anything, it is his exceptional martial arts skills that carry him through his mission. That and the fact that he can vibrate his molecules as fast as electrons move at will. If you know some physics, take some time to step back and think about how ridiculous that is. Conclusion. So there it is, guys, a brief origin story of Rai from Valiant Comics. Sure, they may not be the most famous or commercialized publication, but holy cow, the art styles and stories so far have been incredible. To be honest, I didn't even know about this one until very recently. But when I started doing my research and picked up the book, I legitimately couldn't put it down till I was done. I have to say that they were all really good reads. And also, the 2019 issues were very beginner-friendly in the sense that they still follow the old storyline, but they explain everything really quickly, so you're all caught up. So those are definitely worth a read if you've got the time for them. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot to us. Goodbye, and we'll see you again very soon. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.